Today, we're breaking down one of the most extreme, visceral, and just unashamedly loud machines on the planet. We're looking at a car that literally defines modern automotive. It pushes back against the sterile, computerized perfection of the modern era, and instead, it hands all that terrifying responsibility right back to you, the driver.
Think of this agenda as our track map for today's high-octane journey. We're going to cover the analog hypercar revolution, engineering that monstrous Fury V8, the Maverick bespoke division, smashing the COTA record, and finally, the future of speed. Okay, let's dive right into this absolutely jaw-dropping number, 2,031 horsepower. I mean, just let that sink in for a second, right? We live in an era where massive horsepower figures usually come from silent electric motors and super complex hybrid systems, but not here. No way. This is over 2,000 horsepower generated purely by an internal combustion engine, and get this, it is paired completely unapologetically with a stick shift. It is officially the world's most powerful production car equipped with a manual transmission. Kicking off Section 1, the analog hypercar revolution. So Hennessey is really pushing back hard against the industry wave of these synthetic supercars. Because, let's be honest, modern hypercars are incredibly fast, but they're also kind of overmanaged. Computers shift the gears in milliseconds, algorithms manage the traction, and honestly, sometimes it feels like you're just a passenger holding a PlayStation controller. Hennessey wanted to tear up that script. As Nathan Molinek, their director of design, points out, customers want the drama. They crave that physical effort and raw, analog connection that modern hybrids often lack. This isn't about setting the absolute fastest 0 to 60 time using launch control. It's about the theater of driving, the noise, the vibration, the absolute terror, and ultimate reward of nailing a manual gear change with over 2,000 horses sitting right behind your head. It is a completely unfiltered experience. Moving into Section 2, engineering the Fury V8. Let's look at what it actually takes to tame this fire-breathing beast.
Because you don't just take an 1,800-plus horsepower engine, dial it up to 2,031, slap a manual gearbox on it, and call it a day. The engineering challenges here were monumental. Fitting that gated manual was definitely not a simple bolt-on job. First, engineers had to entirely rework the carbon monocoque tub, which they now call the XL2. Step 2, they had to reposition the footwells to safely and comfortably fit a third pedal, completely changing the pedal box geometry. And step 3, they actually had to raise the transmission tunnel. Why? So that billet aluminum shifter falls perfectly to hand. In a car this insanely fast, ergonomics are literally a matter of safety. You can't be reaching around looking for the gear stick. Everything has to be exactly where your muscle memory expects it to be. And you have to consider the aerodynamics. There's a massive 55-inch dorsal fin stretching down the back of this car. Now, that's not just to look aggressive. Think about it. When you're driving a car that can hit well over 200 miles per hour, and you have to physically take one hand off the steering wheel to shift gears, the car absolutely must remain stable. This advanced aero feature channels the air to make sure the car tracks perfectly straight while the driver is working that gated manual. It's just a beautiful example of form following extreme function. So let's break down the sheer numbers here. At the heart of it all is that 6.6-liter twin-turbo Fury V8, churning out 2,031 brake horsepower. All of that madness is channeled through a 6-speed gated manual transmission that rewards every single gear change with this crisp, machined metal clink. It's music to the ears. And exclusivity? Oh, it's guaranteed. They are only making 12 of these F5 Motorradsters worldwide with a starting price of $2.65 million. And yes, in case you are wondering, every single one of them is already sold.
All right, Section 3, the Maverick Bespoke Division. Here is where astronomical price tags meet incredible personal passion. Because when you're operating in the multi-million-dollar hypercar space, simply buying a car off a brochure just doesn't cut it. Customers want a machine that reflects their own identity. Take American muscle fan Louis Flory's one-of-one Revolution LF, for example. This build perfectly blends an exotic, sculpted cocoa brown exposed carbon fiber body with a pure, fire-breathing American engine. The Maverick division let him specify every single detail, from the exact tint of the carbon fiber to this wild horology-inspired switchgear inside the cabin that actually absorbs ambient light and glows softly at night. How cool is that? Or consider chassis number 1 built for a UK customer. This thing features immaculate exposed purple carbon, gold accents, and a hand-painted Union Jack on the dorsal fin, which mirrors the American stars and stripes. The owner even had their family name stitched right into the driver and passenger knee pads and topped it all off with a 24-karat gold nose badge. Essentially, the Maverick division just completely removes the word no from their vocabulary when a customer comes in with a vision. Which brings us to Section 4, smashing the COTA record. Let's look at the blistering real-world track data that validates all this hype. Because we need to prove this platform isn't just for show, right? It's one thing to have a car that looks great on a display stand and sounds incredible revving in a garage, but Hennessey set out from day one to build the quote-unquote decathlete of hypercars, a machine that conquers the track just as well as it conquers a straight line. And the results speak for themselves. Hennessey absolutely shattered the production car lap record at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. The Venom F5 laid down a blistering time of 2 minutes and 10.90 seconds. To put that into perspective, they dominated the previous McLaren P1 record by nearly 7 seconds. Now, in the racing world, 7 seconds isn't just a win. That is an entirely different zip code. It's a monumental achievement for an independent American manufacturer.
And the telemetry from that run is just staggering. With test driver and racing champion David Donahue at the wheel, the shrieking exhaust note echoed across the track as the F5 hit 193.10 miles per hour just on the back straight alone. Through the technical sections, the car pulled a massive 1.59 Gs in the corners and negative 1.61 Gs under heavy braking. And perhaps the most mind-blowing part of all this wasn't done on racing slicks. Nope, it was achieved on street-legal Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2R tires using regular pump ethanol. Unbelievable.
Finally, Section 5, the future of speed. Where does Hennessey go from here? And what does the future hold for the analog driving experience? Because once you've built a 2,000-plus horsepower manual hypercar and shattered track records, what is left to conquer? Well, tracking their history of speed from the 2014 Venom GT, which hit 270 miles per hour, to that recent 2024 COTA record, their trajectory is pretty clear. They are now actively hunting for a runway or even a stretch of public road long enough to officially break the magical 300-mile-per-hour barrier and, return to zero safely. It's a massive technical challenge, but it is one they are actively, aggressively working towards.
But they aren't just looking at top speed. Beyond the F5, they've already confirmed Project Overlord. This is going to be their next lightweight open-top hypercar, and, crucially, they have promised it will proudly keep the manual transmission alive. In fact, Hennessey's vice president confirmed that their customers are practically demanding the stick shift, stating that their next year and a half of building cars will be entirely manuals. So, the analog revolution? Yeah, it's definitely here to stay. Which leaves us with a final thought I'd love for you to debate in the comments. We are living in an era obsessed with digital synthetic perfection, where cars are essentially rolling supercomputers that can basically drive themselves. So in a world where absolute mechanical efficiency is the norm, is the raw drama, the required skill, and the visceral joy of an analog manual transmission the true ultimate automotive luxury? Let me know what you think, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.